यो सर जी, वेलकम। क्या हाल चाल?
थैंक यू। बस बढ़िया भाई, धूप सेक रहे हैं
कहाँ से गए हो?
नोएडा में।
जर्मनी से आके नोएडा में बैठे हो?
बस भाई, अपने देश की भाई जो फील है वो अलग ही है।
सही बात है यार। अपने मतलब जितना घूमा हूँ मैं लास्ट 2 साल में, मतलब मज़ा तो इंडिया में ही आता है ऑनेस्टली।
हाँ, इंडिया में, और इंडिया से रिलेटेबल कंट्रीज जो है वो तेरी साउथ ईस्ट एशिया। लगभग लगभग सेम का हिसाब मिलेगा तेरे को, थाईलैंड चले जा चाहे मलेशिया चले जा।
हम्म। हाँ, मतलब वहाँ की जो हॉस्पिटैलिटी है और जो वैल्यू फॉर मनी, मतलब तुम्हें कहीं और नहीं मिलेगा। मतलब जब भी मैं मैक्सिको में था अभी,
हम्म।
तो आई वॉज रियली डिसअपॉइंटेड। मतलब कि भाई, मे बी मैं जगह सही जगह पे नहीं था, मैं तुलुम में था। तो भाई हर चीज़ इतनी महंगी, और बीच एक्सेस के लिए भी तुम्हें मुझे $30 देने हैं, $50 देने हैं। दैट वाज लाइक
और
बियॉन्ड माई। मैं ये सोच रहा था कि व्हाट वाज योर इनिशियल थॉट प्रोसेस कि जब हम जर्मनी गए थे इंडिया से। आई थिंक कब की बात है, 2000?
22 20 21 आई थिंक, हाँ 21 2021 के जून में करीब ये डिसीजन ले लिया था। तो बेसिकली व्हाट हैपेंड वाज, उस टाइम कोविड की सेकेंड वेव चल रही थी। I was already working remotely for a German company, and option was always open, क्योंकि ऐसा नहीं होता कि किसी को तुम्हें स्पेशली बुलाना है। इफ़ यू हैव अ जॉब कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, तुम उसको लेकर यू कैन गो एंड अप्लाई बेसिकली एंड फुलफिल सम फॉर्मेलिटीज एंड दैट्स इट।
हम्म।
तो दिस डिसीजन वाज मेड कि चलो भी एक बार एक फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड कंट्री को एक्सप्लोर करके आते हैं। एंड
हम्म।
एक्सपेक्टेशंस तो यही थी कि एक प्रॉपर इंफ्रा होगा, फॉर
हम्म।
मेडिकल, फॉर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, और
हम्म।
सो ऑन सो फोर्थ। मतलब जो भी एक बेसिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तुम एक्सपेक्ट करते हो एक फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड कंट्री से, वो एक्सपेक्टेशन लेके आई वेंट।
तो कैसा खड़ा उतरा
आई
एक्सपेक्टेशन
थिंक
से?
आई थिंक ओवर द इयर्स जो मैंने विटनेस किया है, इट्स अ डिक्लाइन। उनका पब्लिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर शुरू में इट वाज गुड, कभी ऐसा मैंने डिसरप्शंस नहीं देखी। एंड समवेयर अराउंड 2024 बिगिनिंग, उनकी जब स्ट्राइक शुरू हुई थी, लाइक देयर रेलवे पीपल वर ऑन स्ट्राइक, एंड लाइक द होल पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट केम टू अ हॉल्ट। Ever since, like, I see the things are like really messed up, you know like कोई लाइन 8-8 महीने तक अंडर रिपेयर है, कहीं पर मेजर डिसरप्शंस हैं, रिंग पे डिसरप्शंस हैं,
हम्म।
एंड एज अ टुडे तुम पॉइंट ए से पॉइंट बी पहुंच ही नहीं सकते। लेट तो एक दूर की बात है, कभी कभी पहुंच ही नहीं सकते। यू हैव टू लाइक वॉक 3 to 4 kilometers समटाइम्स टू इवन रीच द प्लेस। एंड टू मेक मैटर्स वर्स, जर्मनी ने रिसेंटली जो इनके टैक्सी ड्राइवर्स हैं उस पर क्रैकडाउन किया, एंड दे हैव रिमूव्ड लॉट ऑफ यू कैन से रूकी टैक्सी ड्राइवर, या जो साइड में टैक्सी ड्राइविंग कर रहे थे, मतलब दे वर नॉट लीगल। तो उनको कई सारों को रिमूव कर दिया। उसकी वजह से जो फेयर्स हैं टैक्सी के वो बहुत ऊपर चले गए, एंड यू डोंट गेट टैक्सीज दैट इजीली। एंड कॉस्ट वाइज तो इट्स एनीवेज आउट ऑफ द क्वेश्चन। तुम कैजुअली कभी टैक्सी नहीं ले सकते, इट्स ओनली फॉर इमरजेंसी।
हम्म। मतलब जब इंडिया का यूथ, मतलब इंडिया छोड़ के बाहर के सपने देखता है,
हम्म।
तो उसको ये लगता है कि यार बाहर मतलब भाई बहुत ही मतलब मचा रखा है, और मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा
आई थिंक
रेवुश, या वही।
पीछे जो हमारी अपब्रिंगिंग है, लाइक आई थिंक सिंस आई एम 90s गए, तो 90s की जो हॉलीवुड सॉरी बॉलीवुड मूवीज रही है ना, मतलब उन्होंने उन्होंने फॉरेन को ना बहुत ओवर सेल कर दिया। उन्होंने फॉरेन को ऐसा दिखाया कि मतलब बस दूर दूर तक, लाइक इट्स लाइक ओपन स्पेसेस, चौड़ी चौड़ी सड़कें, एंड वो लाइक बिग बिग विला टाइप के घर, अपनी गाड़ी, सब कुछ, एंड ऑफिसेज एकदम मतलब सुंदर। तो
हम्म।
एक ऐसी पिक्चर पेंट कर दी कि मतलब इनके पास बहुत अंधा पैसा है, और यू हैव लाइक ए वेरी फैंटास्टिक काइंड ऑफ लाइफ, जबकि रियलिटी इज़ लाइक वेरी वेरी फार फ्रॉम दिस। स्पेशली यूरोप के केस में, मतलब लाइक यू कैन अगेन डिस्कस लाइक ऑस्ट्रेलिया का, यूरोप का, यूएस का, कनाडा का, हर कंट्री का अलग अलग से है। बट मोर और लेस आई विल लाइक फोकस ऑन द यूरोपियन साइड ऑफ थिंग्स। तो इट्स क्वाइट क्वाइट डिफरेंट।
मुझे याद है कि जब जब जो बॉलीवुड की मूवीज थी, तो स्विट्ज़रलैंड के लिए स्पेशली बहुत ही ज़्यादा फैसिनेटेड, मतलब।
स्विट्ज़रलैंड, ऑस्ट्रिया था मेजरली।
हम्म।
एंड अगर अभी भी जाके देखूं तो स्विट्जरलैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया में ग्रीनरी इज लाइक अमेजिंग, देयर इज नो डाउट अबाउट इट, बट यू डोंट लिव देयर ना, मतलब वहाँ जॉब्स ऐसे इजीली नहीं मिल रही।
स्पेशली अभी मतलब जब यूरोप की थोड़ी लगी पड़ी है, ज़्यादा ही लगी हुई है
यूरोप की लगी।
कंपेयर टू
हम्म। और
एक साइड वॉर।
हाँ, तो वॉर वगैरह है, बट द थिंग इज़ लाइक, जो बेसिक माइंडसेट है ना कि लेट्स से इंडिया में इफ अ कंपनी इज़ बिल्डिंग सम टेक, दे विल गेट इट डन थ्रू सम फर्म, सम कंपनी, राइट? यूरोप में अभी रिसेंटली द माइंडसेट इज़ दे आर गोइंग फॉर स्मॉल freelancers who are working from Africa, you know, even India, Bangladesh, those kind of countries. तो कहीं न कहीं उन्होंने खुद ही गिव अप कर दिया दैट वी डोंट वांट एम्प्लॉइज़, वी विल जस्ट गिव कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स टू सम फ्रीलांसर्स। एंड टुडे ओनली अभी मैं कॉल से हटा हूँ, मतलब द गाय वाज़ लाइक कि दे आर लुकिंग फॉर अ गाय हू कैन बिल्ड सम फ्रंट एंड फॉर देम। एंड the sad part was that he was saying that since 3 months this project is not getting done because people take it but they don't finish it, right? So you enter the freelance market, the credibility and the reliability goes down, right? So
हम्म
they are so desperate that on one hand they want to uh, cut the cost in terms of कि okay हमें full time किसी को hire नहीं करना, but on the other end they are paying it with their time. एंड ओवरऑल यूरोप के अंदर मैंने वो माइंडसेट देखा है कि दे वर्क लाइक दे हैव ऑल द टाइम इन दिस वर्ल्ड।
हम्म
प्रोजेक्ट जो हम इमेजिन करेंगे कि 3 मंथ्स में हम रोल आउट कर सकते हैं, वो उसमें आराम से 3 इयर्स ले लेंगे। उसमें उसमें उनको कोई उसमें वो नहीं है उनको,
हम्म
नो इश्यूज़ व्हाट्सएवर।
मतलब यूरोप में है तो ये सीन, मतलब दे एक्सट्रीमली प्रायोरिटाइज लाइफ ओवर वर्क, मतलब विच इज़ गुड, मतलब लाइक इन अ वे, बट क्या कहते हैं कि ज़्यादा बहुत ही ज़्यादा एक्सट्रीम है वहाँ पे।
तो कहीं न कहीं उनको समझना पड़ेगा ना कि मतलब लाइक ओके लाइफ वर्क लाइफ बैलेंस इज़ वन थिंग, बट योर टोटल आउटपुट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे यू मेजर योर आउटपुट, लाइक व्हाट्स योर आउटपुट, यू नो? सो अगर आउटपुट ही तुम्हारा बहुत लो है, देन हाउ डू यू जस्टिफाई, लाइक आज पैसा है प्रोबेबली, and there will be other countries competing on the same products, same services, then you will become like completely uncompetitive.
हम्म हाँ
तो
मतलब
रहेगी कि मतलब लाइक फ्रॉम अ फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड कंट्री दैट एटलीस्ट लाइक यू विल डू some ग्राउंड ब्रेकिंग रिसर्च, लाइक एटलीस्ट यू आर creating some high end tech, at least
हम्म,
like if not low end, बट ऐसा भी कुछ यूरोप से निकलता नहीं नजर आता।
हाँ अभी एक मीम चल रहा था पीछे कि यूरोप ने वो इन्वेंट किया है कि बॉटल का कैप, मतलब बॉटल के साथ ही रहेगा। सो एवरीवन, मतलब एवरीवन वाज लाइक मेकिंग अ मीम कि यूएस एंड लाइक अदर कंट्रीज आर लाइक वर्किंग ऑन एआई।
आई हैव फ्रेंड्स जो बताते हैं लाइक पीपल हु वर्क इन वेयरहाउसेस एंड मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेसेस, दोस काइंड ऑफ बिजनेसेस, वहाँ पे एक कोई उनका प्रोजेक्ट लीड होगा, वो इनिशिएटिव लेगा कि ओके वी वांट टू कट डाउन द कॉस्ट समथिंग, ठीक है? वी वांट टू कट डाउन द पैकेजिंग कॉस्ट। 6 महीने की रिसर्च एंड टाइम वेस्ट करने के बाद वो एक स्पेशल टेप लेकर आएगा कि ओके इंस्टेड ऑफ दिस टेप वी विल यूज दिस टेप एंड इट विल सेव लाइक 5 रुपीस पर पैकेज एंड लाइक दिस इज अ ग्राउंड ब्रेकिंग वर्क एंड वी आर सेविंग एक्स वाई जेड मनी, ब्ला 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 ब्ला, दैट्स इट।
हम्म
सो वो जो माइंडसेट है ना वहाँ पे, द माइंडसेट है इसकी काम चोरी और हरामखोरी जिसको हम बोलते हैं कि दे जस्ट कीप द मीटर रनिंग, दैट्स द आइडिया। मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल हु हैव अ जॉब इन यूरोप दे आर ऑफ दैट माइंडसेट कि जैसे ऑटो वाला है अभी मीटर को रनिंग छोड़ दिया है एंड आप उसमें अब चिल करो, मतलब आप काम आ रहा है नहीं आ रहा उन्हें फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मीटर आपका चालू है।
हम्म हाँ ये थोड़ा लेट बैक माइंडसेट तो है वहाँ पे, मतलब एंड दे आर कैपिटलाइजिंग ऑन कि जो उनका 200-300 साल पुराना इंफ्रा बना हुआ है, अब उसका बैठ के मतलब दे आर रियली कैपिटलाइजिंग ऑन दैट, बट वो कब तक चलेगा?
दे शुड, बट अब कहीं ना कहीं दैट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज ऑल्सो क्रम्बलिंग। Like near my house only on the Autobahn A100, there is a bridge that needs repair. And normally you would imagine like, okay, how much time will it take? Like 1 month, 2 months? But no, I think it's now be blocked for like 1 year officially. So at some level, like their efficiency has gone for the toss.
Hmm.
So even maintaining that infra, the infra itself will at some point say it, right? That okay, I'm done. I cannot hold it anymore.
हाँ, मतलब उनके टूरिज़्म भी उस पे ही तो चल रहा है, ओल्ड टाउन जो उनके बने हुए हैं, 200 साल, 300 साल पुराने हैं।
Exactly. So if
और वो तब के बने हुए हैं जब वो दे वर लूटिंग अदर कंट्रीज़।
exactly. So between 1800 and like early, like like late 90s, I think they have built their infra more or less, and like all their castles and everything that is like 1700s and 1600 stuff. But primarily, I think after the World War, like the alliance, the NATO alliance, and the like partnership between America and Europe, like that has helped them a lot. Like it's like they kind of like had a like a union, like a brotherhood, and they helped each other boost each other's economy, while uh, the continents like Africa, which is kind of like a slave state in modern times, like it's still like not fully independent. Like certain countries have French telling them how to handle their policy, or like governance,
हुँ।
even like to the extent like their currency is like even not their own. They are their official language is French. Their like some places are like English, and their borders are artificial. Like all of that chaos is there. Like I mean, it's still not fully independent, as you can understand. And primarily like countries like Africa, India, I mean, these are treated like you can just give us raw materials still, and like or even like cheap labor, and all the cutting edge technology and cutting edge stuff is done by these countries.
बट आपको ऐसा क्यों लगता है कि ऐसा मतलब हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते ऐसे
Hmm.
लाइक व्हाट डू वी लैक टुडे?
I think like in a lot of things like we are catching up, but see, the bottom line is like all the modern industries, they require research, they require patents,
हुँ,
they require licenses and these kind of things. So if you take up like Germany, for example, their core industry is manufacturing and chemical, cosmetics,
हुँ,
medicine, drugs, those things, right? And in these particular things, like India hasn't really invested much on the research part, and but to an extent, like it also makes sense that India can catch on the low hanging fruit, like provide them on manufacturing and some services, just to in a way support them. But we should have that vision that okay, at some point we also need to develop our research, right?
हुँ। हाँ, आई थिंक लाइक रिसर्च में हमें काफ़ी इम्प्रूव करना पड़ेगा। आई थिंक वी आर स्पेशली द गवर्नमेंट इनिशिएटिव्स दैट आई
Yeah.
सी, तो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को बूस्ट तो कर रहे हैं वो।
The government
बट
is very the government is very shrewd. So the government sees like where the maximum profit is. So if you see the recent 5 6 years, the government has done a lot of PLI in semiconductors, in defense, and drone technology, right? So
हुँ,
they are doing it, but they are very limited on like what technologies they want to invest, because the Western world is not really smart on these particular things. Like not every Western country is investing heavily on semiconductors, for example, and India sees that as an opportunity, that okay, we have a large amount of labor force, we have like resources, everything that is required to really win that market, right? And it's also important, like if you have a, for example, if you take up any industry or sector, like let's say automobile, right? And let's say you're competing with some giants like Volkswagen, right? It's not very simple to compete with them ground up, you know like you would rather do something that they are not doing and win in that segment, and from the bounty of that segment you would invest in other segments.
हुँ,
It's like India doesn't do well in football because
हुँ,
the competition itself is so high. But India is good at cricket, right? And since India is so good, others will not find it easy to compete with India. Like today, like tomorrow, let's say France decides to start playing cricket. it will take them 10-20 years to even reach that international team level, you know. So same thing applies on these sectors. Like some of these sectors are very saturated and they are kind of like well guarded, well protected um, property in a way. Like for example, if you take up medicine, right? The Western world has done so much research in this area that very little is kind of like available. And right now it's a whole different story. It's no longer about curing diseases. It's rather more about like making profitable drugs, like what can like the focus is more on profitability and selling quickly rather than benefiting the humanity as a whole, you know.
Hmm. नहीं वो तो है like I think they did have leverage over research, but I think we are catching up as well now.
We are doing it quite smartly. Like if we were competing on things that they are already good at, we would be wasting time. But rather we focus on things where we both are at the same level, let's say, then we have it, we do have an advantage of like lower cost, lower abundant labor force, and we can leverage those things and definitely like win. If you think about it, let's say tomorrow some European country decides to make drones, for example, but India is already making those and selling those at a good competitive price. So anybody who is skilled at that technology would rather join a company in India than outside.
Can say likely, but I think इंडिया को भी काफ़ी चीज़ों में गेम अप तो करना पड़ेगा, especially now. I personally see a lot of value being in India
Hmm.
right now and building something from scratch.
Yeah.
I think India is a really good spot right now to for innovation. Like
Yep.
the government is very supportive, and you have support of like when you are in the country, you have support of people. You have low cost of living.
Yes.
मतलब everything is sorted for you.
Hmm.
एंड आई फील लाइक अगर मैं अभी यूरोप में होता तो मतलब सैलरी टू सैलरी चलता, मतलब पे चेक टू पे चेक काम.
Yeah, yeah. Basic.
आई वुड नॉट हैव बिल्ड द लेवरेज जो कि चाहिए रिस्क रिस्क लेने के लिए, राइट? तो इंडिया में रह के मैं थोड़ा सस्ते में रह सकता हूँ,
Yes.
पैसे बचाऊंगा, एंड देन आई कैन हायर सम पीपल टू हेल्प मी लाइक फॉर कुकिंग एंड क्लीनिंग एंड स्टफ,
Mhm. Yeah.
एंड देन एक्चुअली आई कैन डबल डाउन ऑन द थिंग्स दैट आई हैव स्किल्स फॉर, लाइक यू नो
Yeah.
like yeah, I can build a new product or like
Yeah. So it's a I mean, this thing doesn't ring very well on the like on the on the countries that have more socialist mindset. Like if they have two humans, they want to see them getting paid equally or equitably in a way that
hmm,
their basics are kind of met equally. Like
hmm,
you, the other person that you are employing, should be able to afford the same amount of grocery and same amount of quality life standards, right?
hmm,
And that like your savings would be higher than the other person, but more or less you both should be enjoying the same quality of living. In India, somehow, like we live in that mindset, like okay, like you have worked hard, you deserve more. Fine.
hmm,
The workers that are coming to your place, probably they are living in a neighboring village, and
hmm,
like their cost of living is much lower, so it's kind of sustainable also. I mean, I'm not
hmm,
saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying like the one has to understand the other you know
hmm.
for example, in Europe, you don't have that concept of villages. Everybody is living in that urban scenario, so your rentals are almost the same, and but not the same for India. you know
Yeah, that's true. मतलब especially if you're living in a big city in Europe like Berlin, like you are right now,
yeah.
तो मतलब काफ़ी खर्चे हैं.
it's
मतलब
it's a lot of expenses, and somehow at some level you have to like completely cut yourself from any excessive spending in order to save money. Otherwise, like if you start living lavishly, like if you are getting a Uber Eats every other day, that will burn a big hole in your pocket, right?
yeah. So can you break down कि आपके अभी यूरोप में कितने खर्चे हैं, क्या क्या मतलब?
So like right now it's just like I currently don't earn in Europe, so it's just like my wife earning, and the expenditures are just like rental, electricity, telephone, internet, and transport, gym, and groceries. That's it. But
कितना हो
what
जाता है लाइक
it roughly comes, so rental is like the biggest part, so that's 1900, and if you
900 euros?
yeah, so if you add insurance, like the fixed spending, so internet, electricity, telephone, gym, and transport, all of this combined, and with insurances, it and also like yeah, the life insurance, everything, it comes around like 400 to 500 for two of us. So after spending like 500 euros, like you are left with just about 1300 euros, and from that you have to pay the groceries. So groceries will cost around like 500 to 600 minimum, bare minimum. Like if you're just getting vegetables, eggs, milk, bread, uh 500 euros easily. So after that you're left with like just 800 saving, and like then think about like buying clothes, electronics,
हुँ,
whatever. So it's barely any saving, then it's like almost zero.
सो यू आर सेइंग कि 5,000 यूरो का खर्चा है मतलब वहाँ पे 4 से 5,000।
So, like, I mean, that's the amount of money you should be, like getting in hand after taxes, like 5 to 6 thousand,
हुँ,
to basically have a decent life, you know.
वाओ!
And 5 to 6 thousand after tax means like you're above 110K.
हुँ, व्हिच इज़ लाइक अ रियली हाई सैलरी इन
Very,
यूरोप।
very rare, which is ultra rare, ultra rare.
हुँ, आई मीन लाइक यार 4,000 यूरो तो बहुत ज़्यादा साउंड कर रहा है मुझे, मतलब इट्स लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ एक्सपेंस एंड इवन यू आर सेइंग कि 5,000 तक चला जाता है।
No, not 5,000. I'm saying that the minimum expense itself goes around 3,500 euros.
अच्छा।
And after that, like probably you would travel, you would buy some clothes, buy some, like some device, phone,
हुँ,
whatever.
हुँ, हुँ।
So if you,
तो 4,000 ऑन एवरेज मान लो।
yeah, more or less, let's say 4,000. Yeah.
हुँ, 4,000 मतलब 4 लाख हो गए इंडिया के मतलब अराउंड
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
कम।
Yeah, yeah. So,
हुँ। वही है ना मतलब जो वही मैं समझने की ट्राई कर रहा था कि जो फैसिनेशन है हमारा बाहर जाने का
hmm.
कि यार बाहर जाएंगे तो सॉर्ट हो जाएगी मे बी फॉर सम सेक्टर्स इट मेक सेंस कि जैसे जो इंडिया में जिनको 10-15 हज़ार की नौकरी मिल रही है 20 हज़ार की
Yeah,
मे बी दे आर
exactly.
बेटर ऑफ गोइंग आउटसाइड बट
Yeah,
अगर तुम इंडिया में बैठ के 50-60 लाख कमा रहे हो आई डोंट थिंक दैट देयर इज एनी बेटर प्लेस देन हियर मतलब I don't
absolutely.
know.
Absolutely. And on top of that, in India, if you're earning like 50, 60 lakhs, and
हम्म
mind you, if you do that while living in a tier two city,
हाँ
I think that's like living like kings or
हम्म
queens, you know, like nothing like it. It's the best thing ever. Yeah.
हाँ मतलब अपनी कॉस्ट ऑफ लिविंग यू कैन रिड्यूस अ लॉट एंड देन यू हैव सो मच लेवरेज ऑफ सेविंग्स दैट कि अगर तुम्हारी कल को जॉब भी चली गई एआई आ गया कुछ भी हो गया यू कैन सर्वाइव ऑन योर सेविंग्स फॉर लाइक अ लॉन्ग टाइम इफ नॉट फॉर एवर।
And I think in India, like there is that mindset of like, okay, investing in some real estate, like get like two or three properties in some tier one city like Noida or Bangalore or Mumbai. Like Mumbai to next level, but even like Noida, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and if you are like having two apartments on rental, that's like 70 to 80,000 per month, and that itself is a decent money if you are jobless. Like it's quite good.
हाँ मतलब अगर तुमने दो दी प्रॉपर्टी बना ली है मतलब अगर लेट्स से तुम्हें थोड़ी हेल्प मिल गई
Yeah.
अपने पेरेंट्स वगैरह से थोड़ी और तुमने खुद के पैसे डाल के एक दो प्रॉपर्टी बना ली उसको रेंट पे चढ़ा दिया और तुम खुद जाके टीयर टू सिटी में रह रहे हो जैसे पुणे हो गया गोवा हो गया चंडीगढ़ हो गया राइट तो आई थिंक यू कैन हैव लॉट ऑफ लेवरेज।
Yeah, exactly. And still, like Pune, Goa, these are still like tier one in a way. I mean, they're still good cities. But if you go towards Indore, Jabalpur, you know, and then your rentals are like 15,000 and you have a very decent house. you know.
हम्म। अरे वो भी नहीं तो पहाड़ों में चले जाओ यार, पहाड़ों में
Go
जाके रह लो।
to Kullu. Like rentals are like 10,000 for 2 BHK, 3 BHK. Like you are in a very good place then.
इंडिया में मे बी खरीदना थोड़ा महंगा है, बट रेंटल्स आर स्टिल वेरी गुड।
You can always
रेंट।
find on rent. Like you can always find something reasonable based on your budget. You can always find something.
हम्म। तो मैं ये पूछ रहा था कि आपका भी जो रिसेंट शिफ्ट हुआ है, मतलब पहले आपका प्लान था कि हाँ यार मैं जर्मनी जाऊंगा, वहाँ से पीआर उठाऊंगा, पासपोर्ट ले लूंगा, तो वो शिफ्ट कब हुआ और कैसे हुआ मतलब?
Yeah, so I think jab recently I saw their mindset shifting. So basically during the COVID, German employers, they got like plenty of funding from the government to basically boost their economy. Okay, and then these companies started hiring like left, right, and center. There was funding everywhere, but
हम्म।
after 2 years, that bubble got burst. Okay, and it was a slow burst. Like nobody even talks about it because European economy, I think it's kind of like irrelevant on a global scale. Probably in America, people would care. In India, people would care. But for Europe, like they don't really care much, especially in IT sector. Like their core sectors are still manufacturing and chemical. We'll come to that. But in IT sector, like the bubble got burst. Honestly, the bubble got burst. They have no innovation. There is no core tech company running and like creating uh, crazy products in Europe, right? There's none. Whatever companies are there, they're kind of like supporting the existing manufacturing and chemical industry, and whatever other tech the businesses require is like a very low level, like something that you can get a freelancer to do that. Okay, now
हम्म।
coming to like uh, the mindset, right? Like of having a PR, having a permanent life in Europe. So somewhere along the line, like you realize that you are paying much more than what you're gonna get. Okay,
हम्म।
what what really disturbed me was when I got a call from my insurance agent telling me that whatever you're contributing to your pension will not be enough for your survival. So what the hell am I supposed to do? Why do I even invest it on the first iteration? Like, why do I even care about contributing to that pension, which is not even going to be supporting me? I would rather live in a country where whatever I save will help me in survival, right? So
हम्म।
it hit me that even after giving all those insurances, pension insurances, and all that, I still have to put up a big chunk of money to secure my retirement. Sorry, that doesn't really ring a bell to me. Like I would rather live in like tier 2 or tier 3 city in India. But same is not the case in Europe. There is no concept of tier 2 or tier 3. Wherever you go, expenses are more or less the same. Probably your house will be a little bit more affordable, like one third the cost, but your everyday expenses, like the cost of living remains the same.
हम्म।
So, on a grander scale, like if you really think about it, it all boils down to how much money you are saving in your pocket. If you have deep pockets, you can just get a travel visa. You just travel. That's it.
हम्म।
Go live. But you don't have to like commit your life to it. No, like you don't have to like completely give away all your freedom, all your money to their governments. And more or less, like it's a reality. Like very soon, I think Europe will be at war. You know, then all your money is like funding their missiles and tanks, not your retirement. Like that big question is there in front of Europe right now. Like if they like they cannot afford a war. If they start putting money in war and in arms and ammunition, like their population, which is heavily reliant on government, uh, benefits and like pension, those things, it's game over. They have nowhere. Like you can imagine, the governments will be like, okay, here's your loaf of bread, survive on it for the week. Here's your carrots, here's your tomatoes, make some stew, and that's it. You will be told what to make, what to eat.
हम्म। या इट विल कोलैप्स, लाइक उनकी इकोनॉमी में कुछ बचा तो है नहीं ज़्यादा, मतलब इट्स एनीवे लाइक स्पेशली जर्मनी तो सर्वाइव ही कर रहा है
There is no
इंडस्ट्री।
there is no long term vision right now in Europe. They are just they're just breathing, they're just surviving. Like there is no growth whatsoever.
मतलब
Some too,
swap markets भी
but like as Southeast Asia and India and these countries develop their own tourism, their tourism will also choke up at some point. Like I'll give you a very simple example. Okay, see, the touristy spots are there. Okay, they're the mother nature's gift to you. They're always, if you look beyond that, okay, now Switzerland has the best public infrastructure. Okay, they have the best transport. Agreed. But the moment you start looking beyond that, when you look at services, when you look at restaurants, you will see they do the bare minimum. You go to a restaurant in any European city, any cafe, they do the bare fucking minimum. But comparatively, if you look at India, people do above and beyond. Like go to most of the restaurants in India. Like if you are in, for example, I'm in Noida right now, and if I go to any restaurant, the service is just mind blowing, just amazing. Like there is just one person dedicated to just keep your experience happy, and the cost is still reasonably well. Like it's not too much, hasn't exploded after COVID like I would expect. It's been really nice. Like I'm completely blown away with the hospitality and the services.
हम्म तो मेरा भी पर्सनली फैसिनेशन था कि हाँ मैं यूरोप जाऊंगा, वहाँ पे रहूँगा 5-6 साल, वहाँ से पासपोर्ट निकालूंगा। मेरा पहले होता था कि बहुत ट्रैवल करूँगा, मतलब इंडिया का पासपोर्ट थोड़ा शिटी है, मतलब बट देन ओवर द टाइम आई रियलाइज्ड कि आई वाज ट्राइंग टू ऑप्टिमाइज फॉर 1% ऑफ माई लाइफ, वेयर
Yeah.
आई शुड ऑप्टिमाइज फॉर 99% ऑफ रेस्ट ऑफ माई लाइफ, राइट? सो एज यू सेड कि अगर तुम्हें घूमने जाना है, वीज़ा लगवा लो भाई, पैसे हैं तो चले जाओ घूमने, 2 महीने लगा लो, 3 महीने लगा लो।
So travel is just an illusion. See, most of the people, most of us won't even carry more than 30 countries stamps on our passports. And after your 10th or 20th country, you will be like, everything is same more or less. I want to revisit the places that I love the most rather than keep exploring. Trust me, like half of the world is not even worth going. I mean, you can argue, you can debate about it if people is really your thing, and if you are like like a very public personality, and wherever you go, people are coming and showing their love. All by all means, go ahead, do it. But otherwise, like you will be drained. How many languages do you want to learn? How many different people do you want to connect with? It will boil down to some very limited list of people, list of countries where you are really attracted to, where you really love to go again and again. The brain would want like more familiarity, more repetitive and nicer things than just going into uncertainty all the time. You getting? So after traveling so many countries, I saw like everything is same, even in Europe. My light chali gayi.
ओह, ओके।
Yeah. So these are the things that has never happened in Germany. Like in my last 3 years, I have never seen a power cut. But yeah, in India.
हाँ भाई, इंडिया के अभी तक ना, मतलब बचपन से कितना इतना टाइम हो गया, मतलब मोर देन 25 years नाउ, लाइट लाइट कट्स अभी आज भी जाती है भाई लाइट।
Yeah, yeah.
So that's something like India really needs to work on, like, reliability.
There is a very systematic reason behind that, and that is like the state governments want this infra control under them. So be it roads, electricity, your water supply, your sewage, all of these remain in state control, and like they will never reach that efficiency. So if these things were to run efficiently, either like you need like a user manual, you know directed by the central government, like this is your user manual and on this basis you will function. Otherwise it's always full of bureaucracy, it's always full of lazy people, and the money is just wasted. So either privatize it, or the central government should give them a blueprint that you have to function according to this, and if you do not, you are heavily penalized, or you are accountable to answer the public.
हाँ यार, आई थिंक गवर्नमेंट एफिशिएंसी पे तो काम करना ही पड़ेगा। आई थिंक इट्स नॉट एन एरा वेयर यू कैन जस्ट चिल। मतलब लुक एट चाइना, लाइक या भाई चाइना, जो भी बोल लो डिक्टेटरशिप है या वो है, मतलब भाई जिन्होंने करके दिखाया है लास्ट 30 years में, दैट्स इनक्रेडिबल। मतलब if you look at some of their cities कैसे develop हुई हैं वो, मतलब bridges की pace, मतलब the pace of the construction there, the pace of organization, मतलब you
Yeah.
can open company in one day, like हर चीज़ एक दिन में आ जाती है बैंक अकाउंट से, including
Yeah,
that's just crazy, like and it's good to learn from them, like in at least some of the things that they have done right.
absolutely. Yeah. Like these are the examples like where we should look at the countries or like what they have done futuristically and what they have done, like instead of looking at the past that okay this country is great, look at like what made them great, start looking from that angle, and then you start seeing like okay this is where India can like do better. For example, like I was saying, for public infrastructure and services it should be privatized.
Hmm.
And but the downside of it is like you can always argue then a lot of people won't be able to afford it, right? So might work in some cities, it might not work in some other cities. So it's a little like it's open to debate, you know.
Hmm. I think bubble में कर सकते हैं experiment, like I think India or any developing nation,
Hmm.
it grows in bubbles, मतलब एक जगह तुम implement करो, experiment करो, and then like start from there.
That has happened to a great extent. See,
Hmm.
like imagine like 30 years ago you would live in a row house, and like you would go to your local something for everyday issues like sewage or water logging or electricity, whatever. Now you have these mega societies where like at least like 1000 to 2000 apartments are living together, and they
Hmm.
together among them they solve a lot of problems like security, like water, electricity, um, basic municipality stuff like mosquito fogging and such, kids play area, swimming pool, gym, fitness, clubhouses, cultural events. So imagine like people did solve it privately instead of relying on the government, because government solution might take 200 years. Nobody has time for that,
Hmm.
right? So these things are still getting solved. What I'm now envisioning is probably the next step is a whole private city. And there are, like I think there is something in towards in near Mumbai, like maybe towards Thane or something. Like there is this big township. It's like a mini city in itself. Like it has its own cinema, schools, college, whatever. So probably that's the future. Like if some mega real estate company makes it like huge, they can start building their own private cities, or at least like have some collaboration with the government and come up with such
Hmm.
concepts where okay, it's okay, like rich people can go and live them. I'm not against that. Okay, you can have a city full of rich people, but make it a model city, right? Like give them everything that they deserve.
जैसे अब गिफ्ट सिटी है गुजरात में, आई थिंक इट्स रियली अप एंड कमिंग, उसमें foreign investors can open a company and pay zero tax for like 10 years,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, it's really something, I think.
It's good.
I think
But I would give another example. Like if you go to Manila, there is a
Hmm.
small county there, like called Makati. If you go there, you feel like you're in like some very high-end first world city. Like it has like amazing infra. Like every second car is like a Ferrari or a Porsche or like Lamborghini, and the the roads are amazing. Like everything is just amazing. The buildings are amazing. Infra is just fantastic, like first world infra. But the rest of the city may be slum. So there are such oasis examples, like such business districts where you have like amazing infra. Somehow in India, even if you go to like the most expensive places in Gurgaon or Mumbai, the infra still looks like shit.
Hmm.
So like those bubbles, India can experiment with them, can do it, but they still do not have that mindset of doing it actually. Like Ambani can be Ambani inside his house, but the moment he steps out on the road, he might step in shit. So
Hmm. ये तो है, बट आई थिंक ग्रो भी ऐसे ही होगा, आई थिंक बबल्स में, जैसे अभी सोसाइटी वाला कॉन्सेप्ट है पूरा, कि वेयर देयर इज जिम, पूल विद इन,
yeah, and a lot of people, for example, traveling to good countries like Thailand and Malaysia, nearby, what they can do at a very low cost, they're learning like okay, I mean, keeping things clean is a responsibility of the citizen, not the cleaners.
Hmm.
So that mindset is suddenly showing up. Like I see YouTube reels, like there are people coming from very humble background, like what you would call somebody earning very little amount of money. Like such people are creating awareness. Like don't throw garbage, don't do this.
Hmm.
Um, keep your river clean, keep your infra clean, such and such things.
Hmm.
Somewhere it gives me hope that okay, people are kind of now creating awareness.
आई थिंक सिविक सेंस में तो हमें गेम अप करना पड़ेगा इन टर्म्स ऑफ एटलीस्ट
Yeah.
लाइक मेकिंग योर सेल्फ अवेयर कि कूड़ा फैलाना और आसपास की चीज़ें साफ रखना और उनको गंदा ना करना इज़ कूल, लाइक इट्स नॉट कूल टू जस्ट लीव योर स्टफ एंड कि हाँ कोई और आगे उठा लेगा।
Exactly.
मतलब उस लेवल पे पूरे देश को थोड़ी अवेयरनेस लानी पड़ेगी, नॉट जस्ट एजुकेटेड क्लास बट ऑल्सो लाइक पीपल who do let's say drop out of their schools and stuff, मतलब जिनको पूरी एजुकेशन नहीं मिलती, उन लोगों तक भी अवेयरनेस पहुंचानी है। मतलब
Yeah.
उस दिन हम बात कर रहे थे ना कि इंडिया में मतलब इट्स रिलेटेड टॉपिक कि हाँ मैं मतलब यू आर थिंकिंग टू कम बैक फ्रॉम जर्मनी टू इंडिया,
Mhm.
उसके बारे में थोड़ा बताओ कि क्या थॉट प्रोसेस है, मतलब ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस इन जर्मनी वर्सेस इंडिया।
So the number one question that you should be answering is like where my customer is, where the money is coming from. Okay. As of today, none of my customer are in Germany. So it didn't make sense to pay taxes in Germany for the money I'm not earning in Germany. Getting
हम्म।
given that I have the option to open that in India, right? So
हम्म।
first thing is that, and as we have already discussed, like that the dream of having a passport or PR doesn't make any sense anymore. It's just that insecurity that my passport is weaker. But that's like media spread bullshit. Like if you have like 1 crore in your FDs, I guarantee, name a country and they will give you the visa. Name any country, they will give you the visa. Right. So it
या
doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You know, it might just take like a little bit more time in planning, but if you are well planned, you'll get the visa. And if you apply again and again, they will give you very long term visas, like for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, So you don't have to like struggle then again and again, you know. So it's like 0.1% of your time going into applying for visas. For that, I don't think you should just sell away your soul and your everything to these countries, right? And another thing is that you have to see the bigger picture, like which country you're contributing to, like the country that has given you everything since childhood. I mean, I now have that sense of responsibility that I will do everything possible to make my country richer, stronger. Like, I think that's the only right thing to do.
हम्म।
And people who are working outside, I mean, as long as you are working on a salary, it's good. Nothing against it. Like, if you think like you're getting a better salary than what you would get in India, by all means, go ahead, apply, work.
हम्म।
And that's what happens. Like, sooner or later, people also realize that what we are making here probably is not much. They come back also. It's like that. It's simple. So coming back to India again for business and such things, it all boils down to where the customer is, where the money is coming from, simply.
हाँ मतलब अगर वही मैं सोच रहा था कि स्पेशली इन यूरोप आई डोंट थिंक लाइक टुडे इफ यू आर वेल स्किल्ड इन इंडिया, let's say you have like coding, marketing, sales, or you're really good at it,
Hmm.
at least in Europe it doesn't make sense क्योंकि वो वहाँ पे उतना पे नहीं करते हैं। पहली बात तो ये है, मतलब इंडिया में यू कैन प्रॉब्ली थोड़ा सा कम कमाओगे बट यू विल सेव मोर।
Exactly. Yeah.
इट्स वेरी कंट्री स्पेसिफिक but at least Europe is not the place to make money.
Definitely not. And that's their mindset also. So
Mhm.
the term is mediocrity. Okay. So if you go to Europe, Europe is a place of mediocrity. They celebrate mediocrity. If you are anyway trying hard to make it big, you will be discouraged at every stage in life. Be it setting up your business, the way the people look at you, or be it the whole system, the taxation and such. It's designed in such a way that you would just fall in that comfort trap of having a job, because then everything is taken care of for you. Your health insurance, your pension insurance, such and such and such. All of that is kind of like covered once you are on a salary. You know that comfort is there, and a lot of the people do not want to leave that. They are like they live and die on that salary kind of a setup,
Hmm.
and they don't
Yeah.
need business owners. They don't need new businesses. They have like legacy businesses. They are doing good, and they are comfortable with that.
Hmm. पुश्तैनी
Yeah, old money business.
हाँ यार है और उनके टैक्सेस बहुत ज़्यादा हैं यार मतलब और एज यू आर सेइंग कि यू आर यंग स्टिल राइट एंड जो आप इंश्योरेंस पे कर रहे हो या टैक्स पे कर रहे हो उससे फ्यूचर के खर्चे जो भी पेंशन मिलेगी उससे कवर ही नहीं होंगे इन्फ्लेशन इतना ज़्यादा हो जाएगा राइट अभी कितना टैक्स है लाइक 44% राइट
Yeah, it's definitely more than 40%.
या
Depends how much you make. So 42 to up to even 50% if it is big salary.
मतलब ऑलमोस्ट आधी सैलरी गई टैक्स में और उसके बाद जो पेंशन मिलेगी एटलीस्ट अब मे बी अभी जो रिसेंट जो बुढ़े लोग हैं उनके लिए बढ़िया है दे आर गेटिंग गुड मनी एंड दे कैन
That's
प्रॉब्ली
but is that the boomers, they have had the best of life. Okay, they had like 6 7 kids. They had big houses. They still live in big houses. They pay next to nothing as rent, and after they have grown older, now they want the younger crowd to work very diligently, very nicely for them, and they want like to extract huge amount of rent from them, and these people want to have all the benefits possible, everything. So the boomers have literally corrupted these countries, and it's not sustainable on the long run.
हाँ मतलब अब इनको अब जो जो यंग क्राउड है अब वो व्हेन दे विल बिकम बूमर्स द इन्फ्लेशन विल बी सो हाई कि वो पेंशन से काम ही नहीं चलेगा तो
They are not boomers anymore. They are kidless, you know.
हम्म
So boomers were making babies. That's why they were boomers. But
हाँ
the modern generation, they are not even marrying. For that they cannot afford a marriage. Forget the kids.
हाँ इस टॉपिक पे आते हैं यार मतलब एवरीथिंग सीम्स अनअफोर्डेबल मैं आजकल ये ट्रेंड देख रहा हूँ पीपल अराउंड मी इवन हु आर मेकिंग गुड मनी
Hmm.
वन ऑफ द रीजंस ऑफ नॉट हैविंग किड्स इज एक्सपेंसेस मतलब
Yeah.
भाई अपनी लाइफ ही अपनी इतनी स्टेबल इनस्टेबल हो रखी है कि भाई जॉब का खतरा है
Hmm.
बिजनेस डाउन चल रहे हैं रिसेशन आ रहा है
Yeah.
एंड थिंग्स आर सो एक्सपेंसिव एंड वन ऑफ द रीजंस इज कि यार इतना कैपिटल ही नहीं है कि हम एक और रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ले लें स्पेशली लाइक किड्स
Mhm. Yeah. That is absolutely true. Like, I mean, it's a reality. Like, a lot of people do not have that level of support, that level of finances to even imagine a secure future for their kids. Forget the kids, they cannot imagine even for themselves. So, that idea of like bringing another person in this world is kind of like just not possible. Yeah,
तो डू यू थिंक कि इंडिया का बर्थ रेट भी डिक्लाइन होगा
it has
हो
to.
रहा है
And that's for the good, I guess. I mean, the government will not agree with me. They will say that okay, we will just build apartments and you can live. But I feel at some level, I mean, because the number of people, the way it's increasing, right? Like that many number of cars will be on the road, and it will put pressure on the natural resources. So I think India is at that position right now that it can afford to reduce the population.
हम्म
Probably to half of where it is right now. And then India can really have a very prosperous life, because then the amount of resources available per capita will be much higher.
हम्म
And imagine
या
like you have the technology, like you don't need people doing your services. You have AI, you have robotics, and they are doing everything for you. India will be in a much better position then. Yeah.
बट इंडिया स्टिल हैज लॉट ऑफ यूथ फॉर मतलब कंपेयर टू अदर कंट्रीज लाइक जापान और कोरिया
Yeah.
वहाँ पे बुढ़ा ही बचा है मतलब यूथ है यहीं
It's showing in the way the industries are growing. Like if you read the news, every day you read like some big companies opening manufacturing in Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, everywhere. All Indian states are right now growing, mushrooming big manufacturing hubs because like we have a large amount of this labor force, and um, I think it is the moment of India.
Hmm.
India needs to pick it up. Yeah.
I'm very personally optimistic about India's future right now. Even though we have lot of work to be done, and I think वो हमें ही करना पड़ेगा. मतलब कौन करेगा? मतलब हम ही लोग करेंगे ना, हमारी
Exactly.
जनरेशन या
I mean, that feeling should be there within you that you should be contributing to the country in whatever way possible. If nothing, just pay the taxes. Just earn as much as possible and pay the taxes. That's it. Your country will be proud of you.
yeah yeah. I think like it's a wrong mindset to blame everything on the government, but I think government का होता है fault काफी जगह पे. But I think government भी अभी line पे आ रही है, and then they are also, they want prosperity, they want
My complaint
generation have a good life.
ability, like if they make it more transparent at the state level, that if something is going wrong in your neighborhood, you know where to complain. Getting If that channel is kind of like streamlined and there are people to actually address the issues, then yes, I think you have solved like 50% of the problem.
I think if you built a system where there are rewards and consequences, then people will work no matter what. चाहे वो गवर्नमेंट है, प्राइवेट सेक्टर है, तुम्हें consequences और rewards डालने पड़ेंगे to incentivize people and or
So the
punish
other,
people.
my dad was telling me like he saw a guy, a government worker, working on some patch of road at 4 a.m. So my dad asked him like, why the hell are you working at 4 a.m.? And he said that like the government has no chill. They want us to do the work. Like the work should be done. The time doesn't matter. Like if there is work to be done, we do the work. And he was telling like there are now portals where you can send a picture. Like if some patch of road is broken, then they have to come and fix it. So in some states, yeah, it is happening, but the problem is there is no like there is no continuity. It happens in bursts, but then some other government comes and everything is like collapsed.
Hmm.
So they are mercy of some nice local IAS or local person who is like very passionate and very committed.
Hmm. I think, yeah, I think like all the youth who are especially educated and ambitious, they should go to the government services.
Exactly. I think
I
more
mean,
and more, I mean, the government should increase the number of seats, first of all, increase more um people where the like in this, especially the state level governance, like the number of people should increase, and the youth more and more they should participate. Either they should enter the system or at least like build feedback channels to the system so that there is proper feedback. Like imagine you're building a product, okay, but you do not communicate with your end user, then what good is that product, right? So
hmm.
so it should not be like waiting 5 years for a new election. Rather, they should treat it like proper, like a product, like any big company, tech company builds a product. It should be similar.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think what Elon Musk is doing and in US right now,
Mm.
I think it will go down in history, like cutting the government spending and like efficiency.
Yeah,
I mean, it's commendable.
it's hard because see, one of the bigger problem is like interference in other countries' affairs, interference in their internal affairs. There are external
Hmm.
entities which can influence the internal functioning. So somewhere along the line, their national security was at risk. So it had to be done.
Hmm. हाँ, मतलब उनका डेट इतने ज़्यादा हो गया है. If they don't cut down the expenses as well.
Their dependence, over dependence on China.
Yeah, man. China. Hmm. Do you think
Yeah,
the world order will change?
things are unfolding in front of us. We don't know which way the world will go. You know,
Yeah.
the Arctic is melting. Russia has dominance in Arctic. US wants a stake there. China has captured the entire shipping routes, you know. So they are not just manufacturing, they are in a way kind of like building military bases on every shipping route, you know. So China has a much bigger game plan. Like it will choke up the economy of any country wherever it has issues.
Hmm. I feel like in this all this mess or whatever is going on in the world, India has a big opportunity to step up. We have the technology, we have the people, we have the minds. We just need like willpower to execute it.
People to make initiatives. We need people, we need the government to actually support those initiatives. And I think more and more, the way the Shark Tank helps people, it gives them visibility and it gives them kind of like validation. If your idea is good, you get the money to basically thrive, not just survive, right? I think something of that sort is required, especially in mindset and in execution, that people actually build products, build solutions to to have that overall image of India in mind. Like grow India at a global stage.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, we need also like strong policies as well.
Yeah,
Like, no, the previous policies probably they worked for, let's say, last 20 years or so. But I think we need more like efficient, more stricter, more rewarding, more punishing policies for everyone.
definitely. Like so in China, like it said that they, for example, for construction, they will have like 10 major companies, and the good ones will survive and the bad ones will just fail. The government will not come and save them, you know?
Hmm.
So with that mindset, they are able to create companies which are very competitive and very efficient, right?
Hmm.
But so not the case in Europe. In Europe, probably they will have like quality at their core and not worry about efficiency or cost and such things, because it's being paid by the government. They are happy, like they can just continue to uh, burn government money without any problems. So for them, it's easy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How, how is the immigration stuff is happening in Europe, and how did it affect you personally? मतलब,
Yeah. So I think there was a lot of and they fixed it. But in between, like they had a lot of losses. So they're always like slow to react. So they have this mindset of, okay, like we will have immigrants are nice and all that. But the bad thing is that these immigrants are not getting processed. And because they're not getting processed, they do not have a legal working status. So they are open to exploitation, or they are kind of working in like these shady construction places, such and such. So
Hmm.
it's not necessarily a good thing. Like probably for some college kid, it might sound good on a resume that I helped so many people immigrate into Germany. But if you do not see the process to the end, like are these people getting their permits so that they can settle or something, or when the things are good, they can go back. When such things are not ensured, then it's not a job well done, right? It's just like you just
Hmm.
something to get some headlines and that's it, which is causing the trouble because these people are then not integrated.
And with all this going on, like, फिर आपने भी decide किया कि you want to move back, or at least you are actively thinking about it to India.
It is decided, but when is the question. So we'll definitely move back. India is a big country. You want hills, you go live on the hills. You want beaches, you go live on the beaches. I mean, the whole land is open to you, and the time is best. Just pick whatever suits you. Move.
Hmm.
Learn local language, mix with the locals, help the locals, do whatever you can for your country. You will never be, like it will never be enough. You will be full of abundance.
Hmm.
And same thing you do in Europe, you will be made realize that hey, you're not welcome here. Why are you even bothering so much.
Hmm. Yeah, I think in India, like people are nice and welcoming. And I'm not saying like generally, but so they're generally nice, but some
Hmm.
bad people are everywhere. But
Yeah,
you get when you're in India, you get this warmth, Like,
exactly. So, like, given that we both are from northern India, like I'm living in this apartment for like a month, and by now I think a lot of people just greet me because I've been living here for for like a month, and within this month, the local guard, the cleaning
hmm.
people, they just respect me simply. Like they will just greet me whenever they see me. They are like nice, smiling. It just feels good. Like it has that kind of belonging.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's in India's century, and
Yeah.
it's us who needs to put an effort and bring it up.
Exactly. I mean, just go travel, like whatever your insecurity is, just go fulfill it. And then you will realize that India has everything that you need.
Yeah, I think I was personally fascinated by traveling to Europe and other countries. But after my 10th country or even 20th country, I was like, yeah, like why I'm spending money? Why I'm not enjoying it anymore?
Yeah, exactly.
Matlab, everything is the same, especially in Europe, all the cities are same. Matlab, except few, everything is same.
Ah, exactly, man. Like go to Europe, pick up any burger place. Okay. I'll just give you one example of burgers. They are all boring. They are all same shit. The best they can do is like make their own brioche. That's it. But all of their burgers are boring. I tried two burgers in Noida and I'm like mind blown. Such amazing marinade, such amazing stuff. And I'm like, dude, just go teach these people in Europe like how to make a good burger. This is amazing.
अरे मतलब उस दिन me and my friend मतलब we had कमल और मैंने टिक्की मतलब ठेले से वो उठाया था बर्गर.
Hmm.
It was like 50 rupees burger. भाई,
Yeah.
it was loaded and was so good. The flavors and everything. I think nobody can beat Indian flavors. मतलब
Flavors.
some countries come close to it, but it's just crazy. Like,
Yeah. Like go to any restaurant in India, okay? Any fine dine stuff where you have like a good chef working there, and just tell them like this is the best amazing XYZ I've had, in recent times. The chef will come out and personally thank you. It's,
yeah,
so the experience is next level. Like it's really good.
yeah, yeah. There are things, a lot of things to work on, but I think there are a lot of positive things to look forward to. And I see on YouTube ki there are a lot of pessimistic nindak
Exactly. So
people.
Ninda
I was like,
thrives on Ninda.
Hmm.
If you give them something nice, they will find some flaw. They will say
Yeah,
this is bad, that is bad. They will not see like what is good in that. So I think these people need to get a life, have the mindset of solution, not criticism. I mean, criticism is good where you can give a solution also, you know.
hmm.
Otherwise, just shut up and go live your pessimistic life somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like criticism is good if you're willing to go yourself and put an effort and telling the other
Exactly.
person that you can do a better job than them. Uh, yeah. So let's wrap up.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
fun. Yeah, it was definitely fun.
Yeah, it was fun and thank you for all the insights. I think काफी valuable है कि especially for the youth की जो बाहर जाने के सपने देख रहा है, getting a first hand experience जो बंदा बाहर बैठा है, ये जर्मनी में बैठा है.
You even mention is the language. So in these countries, like you cannot just go and speak English. They do not entertain. I mean, you're good for like 1 month or so, but after that, they will start expecting you to speak fluent foreign language. Like so. Be prepared for that. If you are not ready for that, then don't even think of coming.
Hmm. Especially yeah in Europe European countries language is a big problem and क्या कहते हैं कि जो local लोग हैं वहाँ के
Hmm.
uh, they will not entertain you in English मतलब
Exactly.
especially if you are living there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is what it is. I think it's our time. I'm very optimistic about India. And
Same here. I think next 5 to 10 years will be very defining years in terms of infra and the quality of living. And I think the good Indians will return, like and contribute back to their country, to the nation.
so the risk taking appetite के बारे में थोड़ा बात करूँगा कि आई थिंक इंडिया सर्वाइवल मोड से निकल रहा है मतलब आई थिंक लास्ट 2 decades वाज अबाउट कि कपड़ा रोटी मकान अभी भी काफ़ी लोगों की पूरी नहीं हुई है बट आई थिंक काफ़ी मिडिल क्लास लोग ऊपर उठे हैं एंड
Even
नाउ
food.
दे आर लुकिंग बियॉन्ड
And the average age of a person running a startup has decreased. Now they can start a company the moment they are out of their college. They don't have to wait and get money. Their family is already loaded. So shift is anyways happening.
अभी भी काफ़ी बहुत क्योंकि हमारी पॉपुलेशन इतनी बड़ी है तो बहुत लोगों के लिए होना बाकी है कि जो लोग गरीब हैं और या मिडिल क्लास लोअर मिडिल क्लास में है वो उनको अपर मिडिल क्लास में आना है
Yeah.
और वो ऐसे ही होगा मतलब कोडिंग सीख के मतलब हाई लेवरेज स्किल सीख के
Hmm.
एंड जैसे मैं यहाँ पे कुछ बच्चों को इनकरेज कर रहा था कि कोडिंग सीखो उनको मतलब गाइड्स दे रहा मतलब थोड़ी सजेशन दे रहा था कि ऐसे ऐसे एंड आई थिंक skills like that can really like change your life. Well, it changed my life
Yeah.
personally.
Very
It
true.
can change.
And it's not just coding. Like I think today you can look at any craft, even if it is video editing, you can live a very good life. So
Yeah.
just pick whatever skill set is like uh, generating revenue. Just pursue it. It will take you 6 months to 9 months or maybe a year to master it, and then you are good to go. Like you can start getting jobs and gigs.
Hmm. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap up. So thanks for joining, Shashank. It was
Thank
really valuable.
thank you so much
For
for having me. Yeah.